Good. Okay. Welcome everybody. Before we jump into whatever it is that we're going to be talking about for tonight, or wherever the conversation takes us, are there any questions about Activity 1, the review of current research topics?
I wasn't quite sure what it is that are we just listing the 3 articles along with the next topic, or were we supposed to have a breakdown like that?
No, so what Dr. G and I were trying to get at, and I don't know if he, how much, if at all, he spoke about this last night. Well, what did he say anything about it last week, or is he just like, go do the thing?
I didn't catch it. I didn't catch anything about it.
Cool. So this is a little late coming to you guys then. I apologize about that. But what we are going for here is, and it's actually a good jumping off point into what we're going to be talking about tonight. So many of you are in clinics, you are working with BCBAs that have challenging problems, that are almost always coming up with some question that can be looked at through a research lens. And especially those of you who have been in the program a while, how many of you have selected a topic for either a data collection or a research project in general, based primarily, not solely, but primarily on the issues that you are having in your classroom or with your student? Has that been the case for a lot of you before? Yeah. Okay.
Pretty much every project I've ever done has.
Okay, good. not necessarily good, but I'm glad that you can relate to that. So there's value in that for sure. Especially coming from an applied perspective, or being in a situation where your primary concern are the concerns of your clients, the concerns of your students. And you want to make sure, is everyone still there?
Uh-huh.
Okay, good. We had a meeting earlier and I got kicked out. So hopefully my internet is able to last the whole night. Your primary concern is that of your clients, not of your students. And from an applied perspective, that is a very important place for research to emanate. However, the research that you are doing when you start from that place, if it's really research at all, is at most the research of replication, right? You have a problem that your applied client is facing. You go to the research to see what has been done about that in the past, or your supervisor, your BCBA, suggests to you that let's try this topic or this tactic. And oh, you happen to be in school, let's collect some data on it and maybe do a research design, and that will be a good project, right? Does that sound familiar to a lot of people? Okay, good. That is not how research builds. That is not how a field advances itself. And as we'll talk about in different ways throughout the semester, the primary charge of research is to advance a field. Right? We want to further understand how principles and tactics and concepts interact with each other, how they apply to different groups and new settings, and in some way, shape, or form, take what we already know about the field and extend it further. All right? When you are starting with the problem that is facing you and your client right now, you are trying to take what the field has already identified and apply it to your student, or your client, as opposed to taking what the field doesn't know and use your client or your student to help solve fill in those pieces. All right. So what we are trying to do with activity one, and if you need or want a few extra days to kind of recalibrate and revisit this activity, that's fine. Take that time. There's not going to be any late points there. We want you to recalibrate your mindset for how to conduct research. New research emanates from past research. New research emanates from the questions that have recently been asked and have not yet been addressed. How many of you have read an article and gotten to the discussion section and had the authors present ideas for future research? Most of you should have seen that somewhere along the way, right? Good researchers, smart researchers, I am not yet one of those people, unfortunately, go to those articles and say, oh, that sounds like an easy topic. I can do that study and answer that question. I have those kids, so I'm just going to do what they did or do what they suggested, and now I have publishable research. So what we are trying to get you guys to do is be in a position not to say, here's the child and the problem I have in front of me, but and use that for your research basis, but rather, what does the field say we need to do next? What does the field say, this is the next question? This is what we are interested in. Does that idea make sense? So let me flip that first question on its head. Has anyone already been through that process? Has anyone gone to a study, found what the suggestions are for future research, and said, I can do that?
I'm in the process of doing that right now.
Good.
The research that I want to conduct for the verbal behavior class, I was talking to a supervisor, BCBA, in the location that I work in. And I actually told her, like, she told me, in order for me to submit this for publication, I don't have enough kids in the class that I work in to run this with, just because they don't meet the criterion. So I'm actually planning on implementing it with kids across the center that I don't interact with day to day. So that way we can have a large enough pool of participants in order to submit it for publication, hopefully. So that'll be the first time. And it's actually a research article that I read, and I'm extending it more like, I guess, what you were saying, for the purposes of extending the research on what we know about the topic, not so much just to solve like a current problem.
Awesome. And that's really what the mindset that we want to be in as we are studying in this class the research process. So part of the goal for activity one was to clear your head of the kids you work with. Clear your head of their concerns and their the challenges that they present even from a behavior analytic perspective. You guys are going to have plenty of opportunities, whether it be in practicum class or in 547 or some of these more applied classes, to study those problems. This class should be about going to the research, starting with the research, seeing what the field identifies as those holes, and starting to build a lit review and a robust idea around those concepts that the field has identified. All right. Now, if the field has kind of narrows the range of topics, you might be asking, where does my interest and where does what I want to study fall into that? Well, how many of you, I think activity 1 asked you to review 3 different journals. How many of you found a topic that interested you in some way, shape, or form?
I did.
All right. So a number of you out there, all we asked you to do was pick 3 ABA journals, find 1 article from each of those, and find the next question. And just from that narrow subset of what we asked you to look for, you found something that interested you, right? Well, guess what? There's 25 ABA journals. They come out from monthly to quarterly to annually. They all have anywhere from 5 to 15 or 20 articles in them. So just based on that, the field is going to be posing 150, 200 questions for you to extend every single year. One of the things that we will see is that good research, and many of you have probably heard this before, but good research asks more questions than it answers, right? Good research opens our eyes to things we had not necessarily thought about before and allows for more questions to come next than the narrow focus that the current research looks at. So there will always be ample opportunities for things that we are interested in. Now, let's say I've gone through the research and I've found 15 things that I'm possibly interested in, and I've gone through all. Okay, yeah, Clarissa, I will go over that tonight. So I've found 15 things that that I'm interested in that all have really good questions, but none of them fit the student or the client that's right in front of me. Maddie answered this a little bit, but what do I do? What do I do?
So I spoke to the BCBAs in the center, and I broadened my search field rather than just the classroom that I work in, and to other classrooms to see if I sent a description of the client that I would need for the particular research that I'm conducting. And then based on that information, the BCBAs provided me with names of clients that fit that description that we could include in our pre-intervention probes. I did, and I didn't know this before, but the BCBA who was guiding me with this mentioned that you have to collect data, pre-intervention data on a lot more kids than what you actually need for publication, because not all of those kids that fit the criterion are going to end up being good like participants for the study. They may obtain the skill, or they may present other issues that are going to prevent you from being able to investigate the problem.
Exactly. So there's nothing in the research process that says that you yourself have to collect all the data on every participant. There's nothing that says that you yourself have to be in direct contact with your participants. All right. Research is collaborative in nature. When you go and you look at those articles, how many authors do you see on those papers? 2, 3, 4, right? How many people do you think actually work on those studies? 5, 10, right? Using other people to collect data, to help guide your research is not only appropriate, it's necessary, right? It's unrealistic for a single researcher to be in a position to collect all the data. The question should drive the research, not the child in front of you, all right? That's another reason why this class does not require data. It's a little bit weird to have a research class where we don't actually implement the method section. We don't actually report on results, but we want to get you guys out of this idea of here's my one kid. I can only ask research questions that my one kid should be able to answer. This is our ability to break out of that mold, to crack open Pandora's box and allow you an opportunity to think about all of the questions that the field has to ask. All right? So when you're going through activity 1, don't be thinking about your kids. Be thinking about your interests. Be thinking about things that you want to study, that you want to learn about, the questions that you want to ask. And as you find the research questions that these studies basically tell you, these are the next steps, be looking at those. All right? Does that sound good for activity 1? Is that a good kind of backstory? Does that change how you guys are already starting to think about the research process? I hope. Good, 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 good. All right, so for tonight, our goal is to start to talk a little bit about designing experiments. We are going to talk about your educational theory, where we're going to talk about a little bit, we're probably not going to get so much into the variables that influence design. We'll probably save that for later. But we're going to be really starting to focus on the idea behind designing experiments. All right, cool. Okay, so before we start with that, let's do a quick library tutorial. So there are a couple of different ways to go about this, but if everyone could pull up the Nichols library, that would be a good place to start. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, can everybody see that? Sure did. All right, so we are going to talk about kind of 3 different tools tonight. We're going to look at the database work. We are going to look at Google Scholar. And we are going to look at our publication search. All right. Somebody give me a research topic. Very, 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 very broad.
Positive reinforcement.
Observation. Oh, there we go.
I'm sorry.
Positive reinforcement. Okay. I'm going to narrow it a little bit more than that. I'm going to say token economies. All right. That's an easy enough place to start. Let me get the chat box up so I can see. All right. So I'm in Google Scholar right now. Good enough place as any to start. I'm going to put in token economy. Okay. And now I have 529,000 results. Really good. Yeah? Now, how do I go through 529,000 different articles? That's not going to happen. So I have a few different sort bys over here. There's some time frames. There's a little bit of kind of ways to massage this, but just like Google Scholar, you can word vomit into and get something back. It's a good starting point. It's not where you are going to end. A lot of these articles are going to be very, very good. A lot of them are going to be mediocre. Many of them are going to be bad. There's not a surefire way to tell which is going to be which. There are, however, a few different tricks, and some of them are somewhat unique to Google Scholar. All right. Has anyone ever noticed this cited by button in Google Scholar? A couple people? Okay. If you see that an article has been cited 600 times, it's probably a good thing. If you see that something has been cited 5 or 6 times, you may not want to avoid that. Google Scholar, unlike many of the databases, provides this information in a really easy way. It's even better than that, is you can click on these cited by 711 times and get the list of articles that cite that first article. So let's say I go into token economy and evaluative review. See if I even get it. All right. Am I going to be behind a paywall? Maybe so. PDF. Let's see. Paywall. Oh no. What's this? This means I have to pay for the article. But you live at Nichols, so you don't. We'll get into that second. Let's say I review this article and I really like it. All right. And I want to use that as a starting point for my research. And I want to see what people have said since that article. That's where I go into this cited by. And I'm getting more modern articles that might be even better. Looking through, hidden cost of rewards, new perspectives on the psychology of human motivation. Interesting, might go there. It's a book, gotta be careful. And you see, let's see, the token economy a decade later, all right? There's lots of different things here. And what's interesting about the cited by is I've seen a few articles that are in different fields. Here we have animal behavior, attitude change, again, citing token economies, managerial styles, parent training. All of this cites token economy, that one token economy article. All right, so go back. Let's look for more articles. Let's see if I can get using a whole class token economy. All right. Intrinsic reinforcers. Don't like that word, but it's interesting in Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis. All right. Now, all of these Java articles and many of these other articles, I'm going to click on through Google Scholar and get this paywall, which means I don't have access to it. All right, how many of you have run into that problem before? Most of you are probably going to raise your hands. I can't see everybody right now, but I trust that you are. There we go. Hang on one sec. Now I can see everybody. Okay, so that's where we come back to the Nichols library. All right. The Nichols library has two features that we are primarily going to be working with. The first is the database feature. The second is the publications feature. The database feature within the library functions as a highly specific Google Scholar. So when I put token economy into Google Scholar, I get 550 whatever thousand results. When I go into a database in Google Scholar, log in, it's important. Save your username and ID because you're going to forget what they are. I put token economy. I get 287 results. So why is it that I get 287 results in one and I get 559,000 in the other? What is the primary reason for that? Any thoughts? Pretty significant difference between those two.
Is it going to be all peer reviewed?
It's
Only
not,
peer reviewed?
it's not necessarily going to be all peer reviewed, but it is all going to be academic. Google Scholar is searching the published internet. So you're not going to get, a bedside ABA person just kind of talking about token economy, or some random web page that talks about token economy on Google Scholar. But you are going to get opinion articles, and you're going to get lots of books, and you're going to get articles from other fields. You're going to get this this wide array of different of anything that has been published regarding token economy. In the database, you're only going to get the most academic books and articles that are have been published on the topic. No, you don't have as much available to you, but you're starting from a knowledge of a higher quality source. All right. Trusting things that you find in the database are going to be much easier than trusting anything that you find in Google. All right. Google is a good place to start. It is not the place that you should end. Okay. Does that make sense? All right, cool. So now let's say I find something I like. I'll take this guy, for example, and I will go PDF full text. And unlike Google, because I've signed in through Nichols, once it loads, there it is. All right, I have access right from there. Okay, sound good? Now, this is really good. These two approaches are really good if you do not know what you are looking for. Oh, sorry. Let me go back to this front page. When you're on this front page looking in the different databases, this list can be a little bit overwhelming, right? Each of these databases are focusing on a different specialty or topic. I'll make it really, really easy for you. Academic Search Complete. Just go there. Okay. The EBSCO down here, I don't even know kind of what's going on with that, but EBSCO is available to us. ERIC is another one, but I don't like either of those. ERIC I find very, very cumbersome. Academic Search Complete is super simple. You put it in, you select the field you want, it searches it, gives you results. Stop with that. Relatively new, we finally have dissertations and theses. Okay, I don't know if there's limitations on there. Let me see. ProQuest here. ProQuest dissertations and theses is another one. So like I know a lot of our articles or our COPPUS public dissertations were published through ProQuest. So that's another one that you can go to if you're looking for those. But if you're looking for published articles, Academic Search Complete, hit go. That's the way to go. All right. I see, are there people raising a question or trying to follow the chat? Any questions? Everyone good so far?
Any reason you didn't go to publications
Where?
from the library page?
I haven't gotten there yet. I'm going there
Oh,
next.
sorry. Okay.
That's okay. So if you are doing general searches, and that's the next thing, Ashley. So if you're doing general searches, the database or Google Scholar are where you want to go. Okay, 1 second, Caitlin. Let's find one and then we'll try and figure it out. Okay. If you know the exact article that you want to go for, that you want to get, you don't need to go through all the hoops to try and find it. You can go directly to the publication. All right. So let's say you are looking for something from Java, from the Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis. You put that in your publication. Ah, interesting, Maddie. You go to search. And here I have the Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis. Now I have 3 different options here. I have EBSCO Open Access, Nursing and Allied Health, and Wiley Online. These are not the most reliable dates, but overall, I think they're getting better and better. These date ranges are the date ranges that this database has access to. All right. So if I want a current research article and I go to EBSCO, which ends in 2012, then I'm probably not going to have any luck. So let's take a look. I go to EBSCO. Takes me right to the archive of Java. And here it is. It stops just as advertised, 1968, volume 1 to 2012, volume 45. I can click on it, pick my article. And there I go. Okay. If I go back, let's say I want from 2014 on, I'll go to Wiley. Here's my volume list. Let's do the most important thing, most current one. Here it says I have full access, so that's encouraging. Ooh, did everyone see that? Which one I clicked on? I just clicked on a random one. Ah, is this what you were getting, Caitlin? So I haven't seen this before. Okay. Yeah, that's new. All right. So keep an eye on that. I will report that to the library actually, and we'll see if that's a consistent issue. I checked it last week, I believe, with you, Maddie, and we were able to get it just fine. Let's see if that's everything. But typically speaking, where it says full access and has the PDF, that should work. Okay. So for that, I clicked 2010. But if you remember here, it said 2014 to present. So that's why I was behind the paywall. When I go to 2016, it says full access. All right. So even in that small range, 2010, doesn't say full access. When I click on the journal, I get the paywall. When I go to 2014, it's not working right now. Full access. And hopefully on any other day, this won't come up, but there will actually be an article there. Okay. So yeah, I will thank you for that heads up. And I will definitely contact the library about that. All right. So this will work for any of the journals that Nichols subscribes to. If you find a journal that you don't think that we have access to, email me. I'll fool around with it. If we still don't have access, then we can email the library and make a request to for the library to actually pay and gain access to that journal. All right. They are very, very amenable to expanding their collection. And all it really takes is a request from a professor. All right. If you are unsure and you don't want to wait, let's see. I actually haven't used it in a while. If you go to resources right here and click on Iliad requests, Iliad is the interlibrary loan of Louisiana, for Louisiana. All right. What that means, yeah, I haven't logged into this in a while, and I have no idea what my username and password are, so I'm not going to be able to get in right now. Iliad, so what that means is once you log in, you can request any article, and the librarians will first search through the database. They will make sure that there isn't a hard copy on campus. And if Nichols does not have access to it in any way, shape, or form, they will make a request to the whole, not just University of Louisiana system, but they have access to all electronic journals, and electronic is a very, very loose word, in that if, I don't know, UCLA has the hard copy of a book or an article, they will photocopy it and scan it and deliver it to your email. Okay? So by some way, shape, or form, there's nothing that we don't have access to. Take advantage of that, especially those of you who are just starting off. Take advantage of this while you are in school. It is probably the most underutilized and powerful resource that you have access to professionally. Literally anything that is published, we can get. I don't want to say literally, but damn near. Okay. Are there any questions? Does anyone want to see something more specific? Is that helpful? Okay, cool. All right, so really, y'all feel better about that? Okay, good, we're moving on. Look, bottom line, if you're struggling to find something, do not hesitate to reach out. It is rare that I am going to simply download the article and send it to you, as many of you already know, but I will be more than happy to help teach the fishermen how to fish and guide you in the right direction so that you will be able to do it on your own in the future. Okay. And worst comes to worst, I'll probably just send it to you, but not before a couple of tries. Okay, cool. Let's shift gears and start talking about designing experiments, research topics, questions, and educational theories, your own educational theories. So, yeah, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to send you guys into groups. We're going to take about 10 minutes to do this, maybe a little bit less, 5 to 8 minutes. And I want you guys to discuss with each other what steps you have taken in the past, and for those of you who are just starting in the program, this might be a little bit more of a listening exercise, but by all means participate in any way, shape, or form that you can. What steps have you taken in the past to design an experiment? Like, what is your thought process? What things are you looking at? What is critical to you to starting research? Okay. Don't try and answer what you think I want you to answer. I want you to actually think back upon your own experiences, and I want you to look at what you have done. In what ways have you gotten ready to get ready? What are the ways that you have gotten ready to start doing research? All right. That's the question at hand. I'm going to send you into breakout rooms, and we'll come back right around 5:50. Okay? That's 6 minutes on my clock. All right. Go. Okay, so who would like to share? What are some processes that you guys have gone through in terms of designing experiments?
Our group
Or
talked
what were some
about
themes?
sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry, no, go ahead, Laura.
Our group talked about like in the beginning of the school year, we already have to do like a lot of diagnostic tests and screenings. So that kind of guides like where we actually are to move forward.
Okay.
And in the clinic setting, especially with like the younger children that are like
Okay,
preschool, kindergarten first.
good. So you're using kind of the systems that you have in place to guide what it is that you are going to spend time looking at in the future. All right, good, good. What else?
In our group, we talked about looking back at, operationally defining the problem, and then looking in the literature to see what's already been done. And then I also brought up like piecing together bits of the literature. So like I'll steal a tactic from one, and then I'll take an experimental design I like better from someone else. And I don't always replicate a single study. Like you can look at multiple pieces. And then Clarissa brought up, which I thought was really awesome. She was talking about looking at the conceptual articles that are the seminal articles that people they quote and they cite in their papers, like going to those articles and kind of doing more research like from the seminal article. I thought that was really good contribution.
Okay.
And we also talked about the VBDA, starting with the VBDA to look for any prereqs, just to save yourself time looking through the literature. If they have an obvious prereq missing, that may solve your problem without having to go through some major research steps.
Cool. So you guys kind of took it from a different way than Laura's group in terms of like the actual meat of the research project itself. So you're talking about, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the way that I'm understanding is you're talking about like once you have your question, kind of what are the different options of places to go through, go from there, right? Good.
Yes.
Okay. What else? What else? And I'm not looking for anything specifically, so there is no right or wrong.
My group had talked about kind of collecting baseline, like you figure out your question first and you want to collect your baseline, and you want to make sure you know what population you are studying first and what maybe the setting is.
Okay, good. So you're really looking at like once we know where we are, what do we need to start? Right?
Yeah, how do you go about starting it? Where do you go? Who do you look at? Is this like kind of how you said before, you're looking at a research topic, is this client going to help us? And what's the baseline that this client is at? How does it?
Good. So yeah. So how do I, I've found something that piques my interest, but do I actually have participants that are meaningful for that question, right? Good. Anyone else want to throw anything out there?
For our group, we kind of all had something different. I know a couple of us
Yeah.
haven't really done much as far as contributing to research furthering ABA, basically research. But I guess it would be categorized more as the action research, where we've kind of more done research to apply to the classroom. And I know for me, I've had to Google Scholar's been the main go-to.
Yeah, and so there you're talking about just like, hey, I have these words that I keep hearing. Let me the way that I really put it, and I think it's pretty accurate, is I'm going to word vomit into Google Scholar, see what I come up with, and build something from that, right? And I will, for my own self, I can qualify those good, better, best in terms of the different slices of starting research that each of those ideas are unique to. But there are no right or wrong ways to go about this. Yes, I want to focus on teaching you guys some specific means of doing research this semester. But nothing that has been said is inherently wrong. What you are trying to arrive at is a testable question. What's the technical term for testable question? Starts with an H and you all know it. Hypothesis. You're all trying to get a hypothesis, right? However you get to that point doesn't matter, all right? In the text and in general, we talk about two major types of reasoning that get us to these hypotheses. We have inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning, all right? Inductive reasoning is all about observing what's happening around you, taking a look at the things that you see, and figuring out, what don't I know? What have I seen that I cannot yet explain? Deductive reasoning goes the other direction. Deductive reasoning takes the theories, takes those seminal articles and those conceptual articles, and looks at those and says, it follows from this that some next step should occur. In inductive reasoning, you are taking the gap in what you see and making a hypothesis based off of that. I don't understand how Y, X occurs when I see A, B, or C. So I'm going to systematically set something up to test for that. Deductive reasoning says, blank theory says A should or B should occur given A. So I'm going to set up an experiment and test for that. All right. One is looking at what you see in the environment. One starts from the theory and builds directly from that. Behavior analysis is large. Let me ask you this. What do you think, given those two broad definitions, do you think behavior analysis is more inductive or deductive? Do you think that behavior analysis as a field has largely grown through observation of the environment and identifying what the controlling variables are from through that observation? Or do you feel that was initially a theoretical science that has led to the further development of applied concepts? What do you guys think?
I feel like this is not what you're looking for because you said or, but
Yeah.
but I feel like applied behavior analysis excuse me, and then like experimental behavior analysis, like from a pure research point, I feel like it's like one of each. Like we look at the principles, now let's break those principles down and gain derived tactics that we can solve problems with. And then the opposite, I work in a clinical setting, this new client starts, this is my problem. Okay, now we need to look into the literature and see how we can determine how we can solve this problem based on what we know. So I feel like
Okay.
it's
Good. And you are absolutely right in terms of kind of where we stand now, right? Like we have, as a science, we have 100 years of history behind us from Pavlov to today. Where we are now, applied behavior analysis is largely inductive, as you are saying. Experimental analysis, because we have these concepts and principles and theories as a bedrock, are deductive, right? As a field, if you look back at the first sciences, the first studies, the earliest conditionings, there was the first thing, what occurred first, the chicken or the egg? Did the concept of conditioning come first? I'm way oversimplifying this. Or did Pavlov see a dog drool? Right? The birth of this science and the history of this science are very much inductive, largely inductive. We observe natural phenomenon in the field, and based on how we understand the science, we believe that there is a cause-effect relationship for all behaviors. The problem with starting with a theory is a theory is going to lead you into more narrow avenues. We have a science that purports to be able to explain all human behavior. So through that, we have to, especially now, we have to be in a position where we can observe phenomena around us and be able to develop testable hypotheses that explain those phenomena. All right? When you are reading your text, I want you to be able to really key in on that idea of inductive reasoning and inductive research. Our field observes. We start with the natural world, and then we try to apply the principles and concepts as we understand them to the phenomena that we see. Now, this is, and Maddie, you kind of, I glossed over a little bit of what you said, but harkening back to where I started this conversation, this is different than saying, my child isn't doing this. Let me go to the research and see what the research says about this. This is talking about, and I know that you were kind of carving out into what I'm specifically referring to, but this is, I am seeing something over and over and over, and I am trying to explain why this kid behaves this way, and my next kid behaves in the same way, and the next kid behaves in the same way. All right? So there is a big difference between inductive reasoning and solving the problem of your kid. Laura, if you were to take your beginning of the year tests year after year after year, and you see the same starting points, and you get to the end of the year and you see the same ending points, and you do a whole bunch of things in between. Your inductive reasoning could be looking at what are the specific variables that get the child from A to Z. I think, and more importantly, you have your starting points for half your kids every year who don't get to where they need to be. And what are the differences between group A and group B? All right. Looking at not just the tactics, but what are the causal explanations of behaviors or relationships, not more so than behaviors, relationships between variables that we see in the environment. Now, there's a big task at hand. Being able to actually go through and conduct really sound research with an eye towards additive to the field takes an understanding of what the field has already said. As I mentioned in our first class, we have some of you who are in very, very different places in this program. And so some of you are going to be able to conduct that inductive research a little bit more systematically, because you know what some of the research out there says. For those of you who are just starting, this is an opportunity to kind of go the other way. This is your opportunity to look at what the theories say. Look at some of the original articles on positive reinforcement, on extinction, on conditioning, and try and develop ideas based on those concepts and principles in a very deductive way. Both of those are good. Both of those are important for us to understand how to do, but they take different skill sets, right? How many of you, for this class in particular, came in thinking that you know what you want to research? Good. Maddie, put your hand down. You're not allowed to. All right. I want you guys to, as you finish activity 1, and as you move into your educational theory, and you start to immerse yourself in the research of a topic, it can be something that you're interested in, but I don't want you to have a preconceived notion of where your observation of the research, where your observation of the field as it stands is going to take you. In the next couple of weeks, we are going to be continuing to lay the groundwork for selecting our research topics. And the more we're able to have an open mind about where the field says we need to go, right? This hypothetical observation of the environment, the better off, the more we are going to allow ourselves to follow a research process that is replicable, to follow a research process that is going to always lead us to something new. I've worked with, let me restart. I actually counted the other day and realized that I've been in this field now going on 15 years, which scares the hell out of me, but is true. And I've had the pleasure of working with literally hundreds of BCBAs at this point. I am around very few, sorry about my cat in the background over there. I'm around very few BCBAs who publish on a regular basis. And part of the reason for that, and not even publish, but who conduct research. And part of the reason for that is because of this narrow focus on the individual in front of them. All right? That does not lead to sustainable inductive thought. That leads to applied problem solving, but that's not research. All right? I really, really, really want you guys to understand that difference. Solving the problem of the kid in front of you and contributing to the field are two different skill sets. You guys think you can clear your head of your kids for this hour and a half each week? No, Kristen's like, I can't do it. I will always be thinking of these kids. Fair enough. But try your best. and in the process, you know, if we happen upon a topic that is relevant to your kids, then yes, by all means, prepare to move forward and actually implement these studies. So I want us to have a literature and method section that is in a position that is ready to be implemented for everyone after this semester is over. What I want you to be able to do is take off the limits of the child in front of you. All right. You guys have 24 of you, 23 of you that you can collaborate with right here. You guys have over 100 participants, probably closer to 200 participants available to you via the people on the screen. And I want you to think about the power of that in terms of the research opportunities that are available to you. Think out of the box. Observe the environment. Think of your principles. Think of what we don't yet already know, and use the current research that is out there to guide you. All right? Okay. For this week, your task is your educational theory. This is a challenging activity, and Dr. G has always been very adamant about keeping it in. Your educational theory is your background of the problem. All right? Your ability to draw the line from the principles of behavior to the problem that you are ready to discuss. Your educational theory identifies the whole, identifies the lack of understanding between variable A and B. It's through this theory that we are able to develop one or a set of questions, of hypotheses. All right. You will not find an educational theory directly stated in a literature review or an article that you read. You will find an educational theory in the string of the literature review. The educational theory is identified by the argument that the author makes from the onset of their literature review through to the statement of the question. Read between, as you're finishing activity 1, as you're doing research summary 1, as you're starting to get some articles ready, read between the lines and see if you can figure out the theories that these authors are trying to establish. How is the author bringing you from the basics of what has been said through to the specific question that they are asking? That is that educational theory is what will guide you through your literature review. Okay. I believe, let's see, where is it? Where is it? It's probably in the wrong place now. So, framework for time writing. I believe that's it. Okay. So week 2's framework for time writing is a brief bulleted example of the steps of an educational theory. It's not the most robust thing. That's not what we're looking for. We're not looking for you to have solved your problem, but it's allowing you to move from, oops, there we go, from problem through to possible solution or idea for solution. If you look at that framework, what you would see, or the way that I want you to look for it, are as 6 different bullet points that define what you would be looking at in a lit review. Take this idea, again, not specific, but take this idea and match it up to a good lit review that you read, and you will see the outline there. Okay? So by the end of this week, ideally, you will, based on the research, the articles that you've read, you will have selected a general idea of your topic, and now you are starting to effectively outline how you are going to begin to address the question at hand. All right? It is by definition, a nebulous assignment. It's a challenging assignment. It does not need to be perfect in any way, shape, or form, but I think it's an important step for you guys to understanding how to retool your thought process towards developing a hypothesis and question. All right? Cool.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I might have been in the bathroom for this, but for accessing articles through Java, it's only giving me the abstract, and it says I'm logged in, and then it asks to log in with your institution. It's worked in the past. It just isn't letting me look at.
Are you going through the Nichols library, or are you going through?
I didn't go through Nichols library. Maybe
You
that's
have to go through Nichols library.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, and just so you know, as we were kind of playing around with it, I'm not sure if you saw it, Molly. The 2014 to current via Wiley was not working, so I'm going to contact the library about that.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, Clarissa, you got a question?
I was just going to say the same thing. I tried a more recent article through Nichols and it still wasn't working, but I was going to wait for you to potentially troubleshoot and
Okay, yeah. So with what, Wiley is access to a lot of different articles. So if that actually is a problem, then make sure that you aren't going through Wiley. If you are, email me. I'll be able to at least check it out. I'll actually be on campus tomorrow. And sometimes connection or access to the library is a little bit better from there, but I can also call over there. So if you are having trouble, just shoot me an email and I will at least give it a try. And like I said, if I'm able to access it, I will walk you through how to access it. And if you still have an issue, then we'll go from there. All right. Cool. Go ahead, Ashley.
I do have one. As far as activity 1, so that framework, so that's an outline it's bulleted out as reading through, like that's how it would kind of look as reading through an article, you'd come up with that kind of outline.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
Making sure I understood it right.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a quick question for research summary 1. Are we doing the we're basically creating a summary. We're not using the outline like we've used in previous semesters. Is that correct?
No, for this one, you are using that outline. And
Okay, we are.
for those who are just starting off, in the first block on Moodle, under course materials, there's a research summary analysis and info. And let me make sure, at least on mine, that it is the right one.
Isaac, you might be thinking of 593.
593.
Because 593, our first research summary was without the outline,
Yeah.
without the rubric or whatever you want to term it.
Correct.
Okay, so we are using the one that we've traditionally used. Right?
Yes, for
Okay.
501. Yeah. I need to update this really quickly, but if you've already downloaded it, the only thing that's going to change is this one still says 6th edition. We are using the 7th edition for the APA citation. I don't think that changes very many citations. That matters a lot more for actual building of a manuscript. But for everything in all your courses, we're using 7th edition now. But the research summary Word document is what you will use for the research summary. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, Clarissa, go ahead.
I have a question about SAFMEDs. Are there certain words that am I
No.
the gun
No,
on
no.
this? Are we not talking about this right now?
No, we're not talking about those at all. We ditched SAFMEDs. Where are you seeing SAFMEDs?
On the syllabus?
Oh, ignore that.
All right, backspace delete. Thank you.
Sorry. I thought we had deleted that. I will take a look at that. But yeah, that's SAFMEDs are no longer. The fluency modules have taken place of the SAFMED. Okay. All right. Good. Anything else? Okay. 593 people, take a little bit of a break. I'll see you in like 10 to 15-ish minutes. And everyone else, I will see you. I don't think I'll see you for a couple of weeks because of Mardi Gras break. Dr. G has you guys next week. I think I will see you all again on the 22nd. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye.